what you're struggling with is indecision, I can tell you for free that indecision is already a bad decision. So I've got two side by side. So
Okay.
one says, once I remembered who I was, it was game over. And then the second one says, prove your worth through your actions. So
Oh yeah.
we can start with the first because the first is I don't
The
yeah
first one.
sounds like it's about self worth. So well, I remembered who I was and was like,
Oh
boom,
yeah.
game over. So
Yeah. Yeah. So often we allow ourselves to be stuck in the mundane and accepting things as they come to us. What for me, it was like a relationship thing,
mm,
right? And then I encountered that same kind of mentality where I was settling in a position in a physical job. But the moment I took time to realize who I was, what I had achieved, where I come from, what my grit's about, I was not going to allow anybody to tell me how I was going to live my life. It became game over.
mm,
It's the difference between wanting someone to take care of you and be
mm,
dependent, right? That falls to insecurities and that falls to low self esteem, low confidence. When I all of a sudden realize, no, I'm the knowledge expert. I can trust what I believe is to be right. When I start trusting my intuition, all of a sudden, there's no one who can say anything to me that's going to change my mind. That is game over because it means anything you challenge in me, no, 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 no. This is my realm. This is what I know I'm talking about. And what I don't know, guess what? I'll take the time to learn and then I'll be that industry insider in that little perspective with those credentials as well. So, yeah, self worth all day long, but really remembering who you are.
yeah,
Be that fearless child growing up
mm,
climbing trees. Be that fearless child, jumping across little creeks, and streams. Be that fearless child willing to run up the wrong way of a
yeah,
slide,
yeah,
Be that fearless child because it's that imagination, it's that creativity, it's that fearlessness that you have of willing to try and okay, you scraped your ankle. You get up, you dust it off, and you keep going again. That's what we need to remember is who we are. We did all these things. Why are we afraid now? Don't be afraid. Know who you are.
yeah. That's beautiful. Um, so the second one says, prove your worth through your actions.
Yeah. Sometimes, and I forget, right? It's about having
Mm,
opportunities. Like remember when I said that teachable moment to allow someone to come up with their own
yeah,
solutions? Sometimes we don't allow ourselves to experience the newness of new
mm,
things. We you don't know if you can do it unless you do it, but the only way to do it is to try to do
yeah,
it, and the only way you're going to get better is if you continue to practice doing it, and then all of a sudden you can see you can do it.
yeah,
It's driving a vehicle for the first time.
yeah,
You prove to yourself your worth, your credentials. You get that license. You have that ability to drive a vehicle, but it takes the first time of getting behind the wheel and doing
mm,
it. So, oftentimes, when we don't think we can do things, don't even worry about not thinking about doing it. Just do it because sometimes it's just as simple as getting behind that wheel and then all of a sudden things will click. You're forced to do those things when you're afraid. That paralyzing fear, we've talked about paralyzing fear how many
yeah,
times, I don't, countless times in our
yeah,
discussions. But when you allow someone else or even yourself to talk you out of those opportunities, well, then just go blind, jump blind and see what happens. Sometimes they say when it comes to young infants that the best way is to toss the baby into the water and the
mm,
child is born right in a placenta, a fluid of water.
yeah,
So it is already muscle
mm,
memory to know how to function in a fluid of
mm,
water. So the child, if you toss a child into water,
mm,
right? I mean, underwatched, abilities. What they try to do is they try to take young infants, and when they first swimming lessons is to allow them to just create a safe space with hands underneath the child and let them float. The child will know what to do naturally. It's in your body.
Yeah.
It's in your DNA. You'll know what to do.
Yeah.
Do it.
I've seen videos of
Don't
that.
second guess. Just do it.
I've seen
Mm-hmm.
videos of that. So, a lot of thoughts in my head. The first one is a quote. It says, "The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with yourself. Don't mess it up."
Oh, that's a good yes.
And the second one is, it's a, I can't remember who has the first quote. I think it's Mark Manson. I'm not sure. But the second one is an Alexa Mosi quote, and it says, "You do not become confident by shouting a bunch of affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are." And that just comes from doing stuff. So when I read the quotes, prove your worth through your actions. The first one is prove it to yourself, which ties into the first quote that says, "When I remembered who I was, it was game over." And for
Mm-hmm.
you to have that memory that makes you confident enough to say it's game over, you you've got to have put the work in. You've got to have learned stuff, practiced things, tried stuff, and you can look in the mirror and
Mm-hmm.
say, "I'm who I say I am." I can go into the world and do amazing stuff. Like, I'm not bragging out of something that doesn't exist. I have what it takes, the knowledge, the grit, the network, whatever it takes to succeed out there. And part of what is going around that I think is really faulty is self acceptance in a way that makes people complacent. So it's like, yeah, I'm who I
Ah,
am. Take me like that. I don't care what you think. It's like, this is me. I'm going to love myself. And it's like, no, loving yourself is holding yourself to a high standard, or at least holding yourself to a standard that you consider ideal and then trying to live up to it.
right,
Um,
right.
that's beautiful. Okay. So,
It is so good. Well, before you move on, I will say, when it comes to complacency, people often mistake complacency as happiness, and that's not necessarily
mm,
happiness.
wow.
You know, um, if you're happy, you wouldn't be struggling and making an excuse for the way you exist and how you're functioning. Happiness is knowing that you're going to continue to try to give yourself the best because you know you deserve the best. And however that falls to your work and tenacity,
Yeah.
right? But I agree with what you're saying that you're going to hold yourself to the best because guess what? If you deserve the best, oftentimes people aren't willing to um, maybe the insecurity, maybe it's afraid to ask people, maybe it's knowing that you are deserving of these things. But I think the moment that I realized it, I was at breakfast and I was having it was brunch with a friend, and I didn't order toast,
Mm,
right? I ordered it was a blueberry muffin, and the waiter came and served me, and it was toast. And my friend leaned over and said, "You didn't order toast." And I said, "Oh, it's okay." "No, it's not okay. You're paying for the blueberry muffin. You should get the blueberry
mm,
muffin. It is not okay to just accept what is given to you. You know what you deserve and you know what you want." So then we called over the waitress, and so I think it's in my culture, it's in my nature, it's to be humble. This is how it is. It's not a big deal. I don't
yeah.
make a ruckus out of it. And instead what happened is it was an oversight. Here, let me give that to you. I want to make sure that you are getting what you paid for. You deserve this. If this is what you have acquired the taste in your mouth for, and that's what you want, you deserve
Yeah.
it. But you also have to be willing to stand up and speak up for it. But we become complacent. We become where it's okay. And then little by little by little, we continue to make these little, we accept things that we didn't ask for. We accept how we tolerate, and we all of a sudden become tolerant of all of the things that we know we deserve better for. So when you don't get that raise,
Yeah.
or you don't get that job, or you're mistreated, you don't speak up because you become so tolerant and submissive. And instead, you should know who you are, what you want, and that's how you build that efficacy, by asking and holding people accountable for their actions as well as you. So it's that accountability that builds that worth and efficacy.
Yeah. That's that's great. We've got another one here, and I love this one. It
Okay.
says criticism may be hurtful, but I refuse to let it define me.
Oh my goodness. You know what? There's another quote you'll read similar, but I'll tell you the exact moment that
Hmm.
happened. If I can give an example of what I've been through, I think that's how, when you read these quotes, these are lived
Yeah.
experiences. These are like tried and true, have been the moments of despair, have been things that have happened to me. And this is where you learn what resilience is. It's how you take those words and what you think of yourself,
Hmm.
right? Can you repeat the quote again so
Absolutely.
that way everyone can hear it?
Absolutely. It says criticism may be hurtful, but I refuse to let it define me.
It is so easy for people to criticize you. It is so easy for people to identify your failures. It
Hmm.
is so easy for people to look at the things that you should have done differently. But when you're the one who has to make those decisions, call those shots, do the work, right? And you're the one who's living your life purpose or whatever it is that is driving you, right?
Yeah.
What do their opinions matter? They hold no weight. Their opinions don't matter. And so once I started to realize any criticism, I will listen to it because I'm open. I want to improve myself. But what I won't do is I won't let them define who I am. I was in a position where someone told me, don't I want for my life legacy, don't I want for my life legacy to be defined as X, Y, and Z? Mentorship, working with young people, doing. And I sat there and I listened. No, that's not what I want. I want so much more. I don't want to be remembered for being an amazing person who gave mentorship. What I want to be remembered for is that I chose my own destiny, that I
Hmm.
built an enterprise, that I am working with countless amounts of people. So your criticism or your thoughts of what I should be don't matter. You're not paying my bills. What is paying my bills, what is driving me, is my determination. So I am the one who is leading where my trajectory in life is going to be. I will listen to you critique. I will open up my heart and my mind to listen to any input that you will give me. But what you won't do is tell me what I should or should not be doing in life.
Hmm.
You're not doing the work. It's so much easier to identify others' failures or other people what they could be doing differently.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll listen to that. I'll adapt it, but I'm not going to have you tell me how I should be living my life. That's for me to decide. It's my life.
Yeah. Criticism is definitely something, especially in the corporate space. And I'll tell you, I don't know if this is a funny story, but I'll tell you anyway. So, Dr. Adam Grant, I think he's a professor now, I'm not sure. He's an academic anyway. He goes to his first speaking gig and he's speaking to people in the military, and he goes, and it's his first speaking gig. And so he goes, and these are people that have served in the military for 5, 7, 10 years. And here you are just starting out and you get an opportunity to speak to these people. And he goes there with so much confidence and says a bunch of nonsense. And when he's done, he gives them a feedback form. And of course, they're the military. They don't measure it small for him. They just give it right back to him. It's like, well, terrible session. The teacher thinks he's something, he's nothing. He's just talked about a bunch of crappy stuff. And someone wrote, like, is this a baby? Like, did you bring a baby to come teach us stuff? And it's just terrible. And so he collects all the feedback or sort of criticism, and he had the worst day of his life going through them because he realized, and so he knew, he had a sense of inadequacy, and so he thought that he could mask that with some bold face level confidence and just say a bunch of stuff in his head. And so, unluckily for him, he's got to do a second session because they booked him to speak twice. And so, the second time, he looks at the feedback and says, "Oh well, yeah, I'm in for it. This is going to be bad." He doesn't know how to face them the second time. And then he had an interesting framework that I learned from. He's like, I can be terrible with the, and so he says, and I can't remember how he says this, but I'll try to paraphrase it. So he says he's going to use two scores for himself. The first score is the actual feedback, which is already terrible. The second score would be how he takes the feedback, which is totally up to him. And so he says, well, I did terrible at this session, but I'm going to do very well at taking the feedback. And so he did that and then collated all the feedback and started thinking, okay, what am I going to do next? So he goes for the second session and says something like, hey, I know it's ridiculous having what 2 3 year old baby coming to teach you veterans and stuff and all that stuff. And then that broke the room. Everyone starts laughing. And then he said, okay, now I'm not going to teach you what you already know. I'm going to try to learn from you and see if there's anything that I can contribute to the knowledge that you already have. And so he changes the style of the session to a conversation. And by the time it was done, he gives them the feedback form again. And then they return it back with much more positive feedback. It's like, yeah, I liked him. He was good. He should come next time. He should do this. Like, yeah, let's have this every year or stuff. And it was so great. And my takeaway from that was you can get terrible feedback, but you can choose how you take the feedback. Like that's entirely up to you. So yeah, that's just beautiful. Okay, let's take one more or two more. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
The steal time never settle.
We shouldn't settle. Why should we? Why should we? I look at every day, every time I wake up, every sunrise is an opportunity to try to be a little bit better. Not perfect, so I'm not going to settle for how things are, but instead, I'm going to look at it as every opportunity to do my best and be my best. So I don't ever want to settle.
Mm,
Um, I know that oftentimes, um, I can say my old me versus my new me. A lot of
mm,
me has changed in the past 3 years. The dynamics are so vastly different, post pandemic. Um,
yeah.
I had struggled with adaptability pre pandemic. I know we had talked about, taking strength finders tests and understanding like your strengths and know that you're going to be evolving as a person. You're going to be changing.
Mm,
And I can't look at my old me and think that that still is going to apply to how I am in life. So, no, continue to strive, continue to look at yourself as this is a new chance to better you.
mm,
Continue to see every day as an opportunity to give your best. And the hope is that you learn something, that every time I go to rest my head at the end of the night and get ready to journal about how my day went, it's an opportunity to say how far I've come, what I've learned day by day. And, for me, if I was to look at the problems that presented themselves and never really move beyond how that's going to better me, I've experienced some losses in my
mm,
life, like true losses. When it with a job in particular that I loved to pieces, and I had to walk away for myself. I was not going to allow myself to let somebody deter my esteem and challenge me in a way that I knew that I could give so much more. Don't limit me.
mm,
But I had to walk away from it and walk away with nothing
mm,
and build something from nothing just because I knew my tenacity. I knew if I woke up every single day and I chipped away at whatever challenge was there, I was going to overcome it. So when we talk about settling, it's not just like when the dust settles, it's fine. No, till the soil, make a ruckus. It's only in the friction is where we discover growth, you know?
Yeah,
So that's where that kind of came from.
that's incredible. That's good. That's just really good. Okay, one more, and yeah, that'll be it. So this one's interesting because we do it a lot, but I'll start off with a quote. It says, "Reflection is a facade if you're not ready to see the truth."
You know, um, I always teach people that what we see is the perceived reality.
Hmm.
I think, especially at like everything's a facade.
Yeah.
85% of life is a facade.
Hmm.
The 15% we go to bed with is the reality in which we have the world that we have created.
Yeah.
So I think most people are willing to continue to live in a facade of having achievement, success. Most of the materialistic things don't bring you happiness. That's the facade. That's the portrait of what people expect to be, right? That is falling into what society expects you to do in order to measure your success. My success is so drastically different. My success looks like failure. And every time I continually fail and fail and fail, I learn and learn and learn, and I become more resilient and stronger. And that positions me into a place where I can continue to grow and have a growth mindset. There is no way that me, as a single mom of two kids who was working a position and making only maybe 65,000 a year, could look at that like that was success when my lifestyle and what I had, my lifestyle creep was so much more. I needed so much more to deliver more. And my happiness wasn't just paying bills off, right? My happiness was knowing that I had values and virtues and I was building myself up. And as I continued to build myself up, that facade of that reality no longer mattered. It didn't matter what people saw out there externally. It didn't matter if I was traveling, going on, hoity destinations. None of that mattered. What mattered is what I came home and rested my head and what I achieved in the four walls of my home. That right there is what I was working towards. So I think it goes to putting perspective into things. So read the quote again.
Oh, it says reflection is a facade if you're not ready to see the truth.
That's right. So everything that's out there, all that materialistic things that you're working for, all those things that you see, you have to look at yourself. What are you trying to achieve in life?
Hmm.
To make others happy, to think that you're successful? How do you equate success when you have to really figure out what it is that you want, that you're going to rest your head every night and be happy with, that you were a good person and you did what you wanted to do? I'm not telling you what your success is. Whatever drives you, that's in here. That's that 15%. But the 85% that's out there, it doesn't matter if you're not willing to look in here to figure out what you want. That's that driving force of success. So everything else is a facade.
That's beautiful.
You got to look at it.
Yeah. So I'm about to ask for any last words and read the final quote, which is a two-word quote. Um, but before we do that, just so everyone knows, all these quotes and more are in the new book that we've got out now. It's Resilient in Words. It's got so many insights. You are going to be so excited for diving into them. They are amazing work to keep you going, to get you started as you start your day, to put you to bed at night. Some of the most profound, deepest insights that you can think of right there. It's got a journal for you to write your thoughts, declutter your mind. Yeah, declutter your mind. Write about how your day went, right? That's a great practice. There's some really interesting psychology behind it. You can go to the page, you learn a lot about that, but it's a great practice. There's also a planner there. You can plan your day, plan your week, It's even got a side space for note. So that's somewhat like your companion to
Mhm.
running your life effectively. So definitely get a copy. Yeah, and then we can get back to it. So the final quote says, "Bless up."
So, ah, that's everything.
Yeah.
All thanks be to God.
Mhm.
All thanks be to God. All thanks be to the one who has looked out for me and has provided for me. One thing that when we do our next go round, a quote that I will add, and this is what we'll go to it,
Yeah.
is that love, there's beautiful strength in love,
Mm.
but faith is more fragile than love.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how fragile faith was. I love God. I love my family. I love unconditionally. But faith is knowing that when I have nothing and I am down and out, and I feel as though I don't know where the next paycheck's coming from, or I feel as though that I am struggling with my mental capacity for the stress that I'm surmounting, right?
Yeah.
That I I don't worry about the problems that are presented, but I am filled with love and gratitude, and I bless up. I bless others. I bless up. I continue to bless. Why? Because it's not about the struggle for me. It's about knowing I have everything that I have. It's because I continue to work for it and it will come to me. Full throttle, it always comes up. But you have to be filled with gratitude because if you continue to think about the things that you don't have in life, it's going to position yourself to be ungrateful and then you're going to struggle with all the things and expectations you think you should have. Just bless up, bless others up, bless God up, and just continue to give with an open heart. That right there, when I took the focus and shift out of the negativity from me and focused on positivity for others and upward, my life changed so drastically. So bless up.
That is beautiful. It's been an incredible time. Thank you so much. I enjoyed every bit of it.